Gentleman is recognized.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If we defeat the previous question, we can amend the rule to save the right of every American to be heard on the floor of Congress. Madam Speaker, a tenet of socialism is to silence all opposition. The right to speak your mind and question your leaders are often the first casualties of socialist governments throughout history. Not far behind are other important freedoms, including the right to defend yourself and the right to earn a living, which are impossible to protect without the freedom of speech. Our Constitution lists the freedom of speech as its very first freedom. And for our founding fathers, the reason was self-evident. As Benjamin Franklin once said, without freedom of thought, there can be no such thing as wisdom, and no such thing as public liberty without freedom of speech. And the very first action of this majority is to take it away. From the very beginning of this institution, we had a motion to recommit, to protect the minority. If you listen to Benjamin Franklin, tell me how the 117th Congress can have any wisdom or any public liberty or any freedom because you deny us speech. Benjamin Franklin was right then and he's right now. But I've noticed a dangerous trend against free speech in recent years, a trend that betrays every other founding father who have lived, fought, and died for. It began in our schools on college campuses, where our students are taught the absurd notion that free speech is about privilege and power and not open debate and rational deliberation. Then it jumped to the mainstream media and social media giants who use their power to protect their liberal friends and censure conservatives, including during the last election and throughout the pandemic. And now with today's vote, that same socialist idea have found their way onto the floor and into the rules of the U.S. House of Representatives, which will shape every law this chamber tries to make in the next 2 years. Taking the same idea that the socialist governments had taken before. The fear that you might lose be based on an idea, take their voice away. Whose voices are those? The constituents of millions of Americans. These changes will stop American voices from being heard, primarily by revoking the motion to recommit, the minority's long-term right to offer the last amendment to legislation. I see my good friend, the majority leader, across the aisle. He and I have switched jobs before. I was the majority leader. For 8 years, never once was it ever debated that we would deny the minority the right to an amendment on a bill. Never once. I know the majority leader will stand up later and say, well, this has been changed time and again, only by Democrats. Only by Democrats. I know my friend's an institutionalist. I know he believes in this body, but he cannot believe about taking this away. Why would you want to? You cannot pass a motion to recommit on the floor unless you have the majority of the people of the body to vote for it. Are you so afraid that you can't hold people that you want to take it away? Are your constituents better than somebody else's? To again quote Ben Franklin, free speech is a necessary tool for exposing and keeping in check narrow thoughts and narrow men. That is what the MTR is all about. For our constituents, taking it away means freedom of speech is silenced and good ideas are stifled. While House Democrats have slowly chipped away at this right in the past, today's vote truly represents the nuclear option. It will prove once and for all who is truly an institutionalist in this body. Is it no wonder that your majority is so thin that you go to take away the MTR? Was the Speaker vote too close? I can't imagine casting that vote at your very first action. Additionally, these rules mirror the misplaced priorities of the last Congress. Democrats' 45-page resolution strips all mentions of words of father, mother, son, daughter, brother, mother-in-law, daughter-in-law. I'm a proud father. I'm an extremely proud son. But we're going to strike them from the rules. First, we take your speech away. Then we take what you can say. Already in the race to wokeness, I listened to your opening prayer yesterday. You changed the word to amen that has nothing to do with gender? Today's vote is about more than organizing Congress. It's about the American people's right to be heard by their government. This vote is important. It might be the most important vote we take after the vote for Speaker. It signals our priorities, our vision for the entire 2 years. The fact that this is the Democrats' first course of action as the majority in the new Congress speaks volumes to what the length they will go to silence the people's voice. I almost thought it would be the opposite. I know what you thought the day, the weeks, the months before the election. You wondered if you'd have enough seats in here for how big your majority would be. I listened to the Speaker say she wasn't only going to win the majority, she was winning it for the next 2-3 elections because we were going to gain so many seats. My dear friend predicted 15 seat gain by the Democrats. But that's not what the American people told you. I probably would have reversed and said, oh my gosh, if we are doing everything that the American people does not want, maybe we should change course. But you actually took the opposite approach. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Let's deny people to even say more because they don't like what we're doing. I've watched this happen in other parts of the world, but I never thought in the fundamental belief of the very First Amendment of America, of the very belief of this body where we debate, where the voices of America are supposed to be heard. Well, the MTR has been around from the very beginning of this nation, of this body. But you will be the individuals. You will be the slim majority that took it away. You will cast that vote. You will have the history written about you. The fact that this is your very first course, you are setting the tone for the next 2 years. The political and moral stakes are high, and the American people know it. If censorship replaces open debate on this floor, serious deliberation of the most important issues confronting our country will become impossible. More importantly, Congress will continue to waste time on unnecessary distractions that have nothing to do with the needs of the American people. This damage will be immediate and long-lasting. But Republicans will never give up our right to fully represent our constituents, voices here in Washington. Democrats' small thinking may limit how we can do what's right for our constituents, but it won't stop us from doing what's needed. Maybe we need a little history in modern history. You had the ability to control this body for 40 years before Republicans ever won in 1994. You would try to shut it off now and then based upon certain bills. You know the very first thing that Republicans did when they had the chance to write the rules and be in the majority? They guaranteed it for the minority, for you, when you were in the minority. They were not afraid. When we narrowed the majority, much to the same numbers we have today. Was it removed then because Republicans were in power? It was not. It was guaranteed. My good friend was here during that time. The Speaker served during that time. When we, the Republicans, took the majority again and had it for 8 years, not only did we never touch it, we guaranteed it again. You've been in power for 2. You lost seats based upon what you did on this floor. Instead of changing course, you now deny people the voice. That's the history that will be written today. That's the legacy you will live with. I will promise you this. 2 years from today, when you are no longer in the majority, we will correct the course of history. Because we are not afraid of debate. We are not afraid of ideas. We believe it makes us stronger. We know it makes this country stronger. This choice will shape everything we do in the next 2 years and beyond. We have big challenges. We're going to have to work together, but you deny us, you're going to have a hard time working with us. Madam Speaker, you and I travel a lot back to our districts. We fly often on the same planes. We see our constituents, and I see you listen to them. I see you talk to them about issues. I've watched you work across the aisle on some of the biggest issues, even when you were not in the majority. I want you to think one moment, Madam Speaker. What if those constituents you talk to, and you say you'll bring their voice to the floor, that you were going to be denied that? You never were denied that when you were in the minority. But I just ask every member of this body, before you cast this vote, you may think a tough vote goes away. Oh, no, it won't. I will make you this promise. You have given me the passion to fight harder for my constituents. You have given me the passion to find a better opportunity for more of their voices to be heard. And you have given me the passion to win back the majority so I can win back the voices on this floor, that they won't be denied. And they might not be my constituents. They may be the voices of your constituents, because it's the right thing to do that has been here the entire time this body has been here. Madam Speaker, there are times we will disagree, but there are very few times I've ever been this embarrassed of this body. The hypocrisy of what I'm about to see, the hypocrisy of what you think you will defend. Everybody in this body knows it is wrong, but you feel you can grip power a little harder. You can feel you could hold on to it a little stronger. I will tell you this. The power of free speech is so much stronger than the power of somebody trying to grip and hold on to the majority. With that, I yield back and strongly urge defeat of the previous question.
The chair will remind all members, Mr. Minority Leader, the chair will remind all members of Rule 17(1)(a), which says, a member, delegate, or resident commissioner who desires to speak or deliver a matter to the House shall respectfully address the Speaker. And this chair intends to enforce this rule. It is the first rule of decorum. We are entering into some difficult days, and I will tell all members on both sides of the aisle, we will enforce the decorum of the House, and we will enforce Rule 17(1)(a). Remarks will be made to the chair. With that, I'm pleased to recognize the gentleman from Massachusetts.